So what we see here in the exhibition at Studio La Città is my new series entitled Outer Space. The work dedicates to new developments in space technology. That means space travel and space exploration. And as an artist, I'm very much interested how these new technologies affect our future way of how we will live and work in Earth's orbit, and I try to find artistic transformation and artistic expressions to show this. For example, we can start with this work here, which is entitled ALMA. One important part of new space technologies is also astronomy and the way how we discover new information from the universe and what we learn about the creation of the universe. And ALMA here shows the world's largest telescope array, which is installed in the desert of Atacama in Chile in an altitude of 5,000 meters. And these telescopes look so deep into space like never before. So astronomy is one important part. Also this work here entitled Oscillation Universe is dedicated to astronomy and the way how we discover new information from the universe. Working about space and space technologies, I said to myself that it's very important for me also to travel myself into space, to have a first-hand experience what it means to be in space and to have a look towards our planet from space. And that's the reason why I became one of Virgin Galactic's future astronauts. And the idea is to fly with a Spaceship 2 into space. And as you maybe know, this is a very complex and complicated technology. And last year, the Spaceship 2 suffered a very heavy accident during one of the test flights, and the work you see here is related to this accident and what happened, because traveling into space and passing this kind of ultimate frontier is always a question also between the relationship of man and technology. So this is a very important question. How are we able to develop new technologies, how we use them? And of course, we are facing limits where we can see the technology is not yet advanced enough to do this, and accident happens and we have to learn from them. And the work we see here relates, of course, to this accident, and it's a recomposition of Caspar David Friedrich's famous painting, The Sea of Ice, from the 19th century, which was work which also related to the combination between man and technologies. And so the composition is precisely the same one like in the painting of Caspar David Friedrich. What we see here is a visualization of space debris. So we have about 600,000 pieces, junk pieces, which are flying around in space on several orbits. These objects are flying with 28,000 kilometers per hour on different orbits, and these are all technical artifacts which are a huge environmental problem, because somebody has to clean it up. It's a threat to space travel, and it's a threat to our satellite infrastructure. So the visualization is done in collaboration with the Aerospace Institute in Braunschweig and the Deutsche Luft- und Raumfahrtzentrum. And they gave me access to a huge database, and we used that to visualize all the amount of space debris what is flying around our heads. And maybe we go to this one. Flying into space, of course, is something that is very demanding physically to your own body, but also mentally. You have to prepare to do this. And of course, I have to do a lot of trainings, and I did already a lot of trainings. For example, I went to Star City in Russia. This is the famous training center where, since Yuri Gagarin, all the cosmonauts are training for their space travel. And I went there and did several training sessions with the professional astronauts there. And one of these trainings was also a spacewalk training. That means they put me in a spacesuit, which is very heavy. It's about 150 kilograms, and then they lift you up with a crane over a huge, gigantic tank of water, and in a depth of 12 meters, there is full-scale mock-up of the International Space Station, means of the Russian module of the International Space Station, and there you learn to move in a simulated weightless environment, and you learn how to move in a space suit, and it's also a mentally thing to learn what it means to be in such a suit, which is like being in your own spaceship. So that's me underwater in a depth of 12 meters in this famous Russian space suit. What else do we have? Maybe this one is also an important thing to explain. Space exploration, of course, goes also into deep space, and that means beyond Earth orbit, beyond the Moon. The next target, probably what humans are facing, is the Mars landing. The human Mars landing. We already have a lot of landers and rovers driving on Mars and providing us an enormous amount of footage from the Mars surface. And these rovers need to be tested first on Earth. And there's one place on Earth which is almost similar to Mars, and that's again the Atacama Desert. And the rovers get tested here in this field in the middle of the Atacama Desert before they're sent up to Mars. So I went to this place and photographed the landscape, and I combined it with a first settlement on Mars, which is based on Buckminster Fuller's geodetic cupolas, and that will be probably the first structure of the first housing structure that we will see on Mars. But doing all this also implies the question, how do we live in space, on space stations, on Mars stations? How do we get supply? How do we get also oxygen production, food production? Plants are important question, of course, and we need plants in space. First, for the well-being of the astronauts, so they see something green, but also it's important to have plants for oxygen and food production. The problem is that plants go crazy usually in a micro or zero gravity environment. So this work relates to the idea how plants grow in a microgravity environment. And what I have done a composition of many different plants which are growing also in a closed environment under such a geodesic cupola, and they're all stitched together in a way that they're floating like in zero gravity, and the only way of orientation plants have in a microgravity environment is towards the light. So the work here has two suns included, and you can see that the plants are growing in both directions towards the light, towards the sun. And you see that this structure you see here is referring to the cupolas you have in this picture here. Yeah, that's basically gives a general idea about what the exhibition is about.